Hi everyone, welcome to vlog 100. Vlog 100. I did not start recording vlogs in English right away, so there are not exactly 100 vlogs in English, but it didn't take me too long to start, I think. And I checked my YouTube channel, there are already 800 videos there. So, well, this is the 100th edition of my regular vlogs. When I started to do English vlogs, I just picked up the number where I was with my Dutch vlog, just to make things easier for me, because I record my vlogs on the same day, I tell the same things, and it was just easier to keep track of. So yeah, hi, my name is Linda. I'm also known as Wool Hobby. That's also the name of my web shop, where I sell hand-dyed yarn, crafty notions, knitting needles and my own patterns. And on this YouTube channel, I will keep you up to speed about what I'm knitting, what I'm designing, what I'm dyeing, and other adventures. So, yeah. I live in the Netherlands with my husband Rob, and we have 3 grown children. They all moved out, but every now and then they are around the house, and so there might be a chance that you meet one or more of them at any given time. So, this past week I have been knitting, but I did not finish anything. But I had several projects in rotation. I'm going to show you my progress on those. And there is a reason that I did not finish or knit too much on all my things. I will tell you about that later. First of all, let's take a look at my sea glass sweater. In my YouTube membership channel, I am running a fun make-along. It is the Bright and Fresh make-along in English. The rule was cast on something bright and new on or after January 1st and just see how far you get until March 21st. Yeah, when we are moving into spring. So, and I picked the sea glass sweater, and last week I already split for the sleeves, but I think I only did around 7 more rounds. The stitch marker is here, so you see this is all that I did this week, which is kind of silly because I don't have to think about increases anymore. I can just knit, but well, a little less knitting on this week. I have this beautiful dream box by Holst Garn, which I'm using for my sea glass, and the sleeves have the same color sequence as the body. So when I split for the sleeves, I made notes of what colors I'm putting in, and I decided to put all the yarn cakes, flip them all so that they have the band facing the glass, and every time I've used one I am putting the band back on, but then I put it on its bottom, so I know which colors I have already used, and I'm making a list of this color sequence so that I can just repeat it once I have knitted them all in, and then I can repeat that sequence for the sleeves. So yeah, so this is my sea glass for the moment. I still enjoy this knit. I still want to work on this. This will stay in rotation, of course, because it is for my own knit along, and I hope to get a little more knitting in the next 2 weeks. I have a very busy time coming up, so I'm not sure if I will record a vlog next week. That is probably not going to happen, but we will see. My sea glass. Let's see. The jaunty, for the jaunty spin along, organized by or hosted by Andrea Mauweh and Daedalus Spinning Wheels, has been in rotation, and I have been knitting on it a little. I was not planning to knit on this because there simply wasn't time, but yesterday evening there was a jaunty Zoom, so I tuned in and I did knit on it then. Oh, wait a second. I am going to move my stitch marker up. I think I forgot to do that last week in my Mauweh. So I'm going to make sure I will move them up in all my knits this week. Let's see. I thought about it because I was going to say the stitch marker was here. So I knitted this part. The rows are getting longer and longer. I have one more yarn cake of this, and I can knit on this until I have, let's see, I have 262 grams of yarn, and Andrea Mauweh advises to start the decreases when you are at 45% of the yarn you have available. My first plan was to put in all kinds of colors, but I did not like the way it looked, so I decided to go for a semi-solid, and 45% of my yarn is when I've reached 117.9 grams. So I can just still knit on this. I should weigh my other yarn cake because that might be 118 grams or 120, and then I know I can just knit this all in. So I do have a lot of travel time in the next week. So I think this will stay in rotation. I think it will, but we will just have to see. It probably will. My Mauweh, the design I'm knitting on, I had hoped to have split for this, no, not split for the sleeves. I had hoped to have finished the body, but that did not happen. I am, however, quite a bit further than I was last week, and I am in doubt whether I moved the stitch marker, because that is down here or up here, and I am in doubt if this is the entire knit that I've been putting into. I might have forgotten to move it up. That's not going to happen. I'm going to move it up. Now there's an extra stitch marker here, by the way, because from this point on I only need 10 more centimeters. So I have done about 5, I think. So I am getting there. I'm not going to put this in the stitch next to my beginning of round marker, but a few stitches out. So I've moved the stitch marker up. I am not sure. This will not be going with me when I'm traveling next week. So we will just have to see how much knitting will get done on this one. So, but I'm very happy with the length I have so far, and I hope to have the body finished when I'm showing it again in 2 weeks maybe. I have a very busy week ahead, and the week after that I am vending at a fair, so then I will be going to Breda, and I will be in a hotel for 2 nights with my sister. So it will be kind of a challenge to squeeze in a vlog. So we will just have to see what happens. So that was my Mauweh. I've moved the stitch marker up, and now we are going to look at my scrappy rainbow socks. And this is what I have so far. And last week I did show these already, and I had some knitting done already, but I vlogged back to the cuff because I kind of changed my plans. This is my second time knitting these. The first time I wrote out a pattern, I did a special color change, and I just snipped all the ends short. But my test knitter said I have been weaving in all those ends because I did not trust the weaving in, and so I did weave in all the ends, and I was like, that is not what I was hoping for. So I decided to give it some more thought, and I hope that I came up with a clever plan. But I need to do one more test to see if what I came up with works. First of all, I came up with a measurement to see how long of a string of yarn you need, because keeping 3 colors attached and have them tangled up, it's just messy. I did not want that. I am attaching and binding off by weaving in at a certain way, and you can see the line here. Now, I came up with the idea that I'm going to move this line to the middle of the foot at the bottom, because I am attaching and weaving in ends so regularly, you end up with a double thick sole of the foot. So as long as you are on the back of the leg, it is just enough to take 8 stitches to the left and the right of your attachment point. But as soon as I move onto the foot, I will take more stitches. So this is a 72 stitch sock. I will probably do 17 and 17 or 16 and 16, something like that. Use that to weave in the ends from the start and from the beginning, and then you will have a double thick sole, which is of course very sturdy. And I hope that because I am using the entire sole that you can't feel it when you are wearing your socks. So I can of course move some stitches around to have this end at the middle of the sole, which I will do for this one. So I need about half a round more. But for the next pair, I want to have the attachment in the middle already. So this is a work in progress. Because you cut the yarn up front, you can always untangle them by pulling the collar out so that you have your strand untangled from all the other strands. And yeah, this pair needs to be finished in April, so I'm just working a few rounds every so often. And yeah, this is really nice. My plans to knit a blanket for Sven. I talked about it during Vlogmas, and I wanted to knit the Shadow Magic by Frankie's Knitted Stuff. And I made another square. And this square made me decide that I'm not going to do a mitered shadow square blanket for Sven. Because let's see, if you start knitting, you have all these white stitches on your needle. You start knitting, then you add the green. And that means that you are going to turn this into an intarsia knit. So you have white on this side of the green and white on that side of the green. And then you move to grey. So you attach a grey here and you attach a grey there. And in the end, you end with just the grey. But because of the intarsia character of this mitered square, you need to weave in 10 ends. Well, I have been playing around with a center spine stitch, and I've been playing around with doing the shadow sides in stockinette, but I don't want to commit to an entire blanket. Not if I'm going to skip the stockinette, because that is not the way to go. The designer did not use stockinette here. That was just my idea. I just wanted to try it out, but that's a bad idea. The center spine stitch is also not something the designer tells in his pattern, but I just don't like it. Too much ends to weave in, too much fuss, too much yarn management, so a no-go. This was the last one I was about to swatch, and then I would try and work out a kind of a fade with all the colors I have, but this is not going to be a blanket for Sven. I am, however, knitting on my crochet jelly roll blanket. Last week I explained that I started a jelly roll blanket because of my support to the bakery bears, Kay and Dan Jones. They are going through some rough times, and I decided that buying some of Kay's patterns would be supportive. So I bought the crochet jelly roll as one of the patterns. I showed which one I bought last week, I think. 2 pairs of socks, the crocheted and the knitted jelly roll, and the stitching time blanket. I bought 5, and I was working on this, and Sven came home this weekend and he saw me working on this and he said, "Ooh, that's also really nice." And so I told him that I'm still planning a blanket for him, but that the blanket that I came up with is not something I enjoy. And I said, "Would you like this one?" And he said, oh yes, I would like this one. So I am going to I am going to crochet this jelly roll blanket for Sven. And I finished strip 1. I will stand up. This is strip 1. And if I put the strip on the ground, it touches the ground now. I have to stretch out my entire arm. So that is the length of the blanket. And I started the second strip. And it is a modular crochet. So you crochet the next strip to the previous one immediately. I had to practice a little. I think I made a tiny mistake in the beginning, but I am not going to frog it. I will continue with what I have now, and that looks kind of nice, I think. I'm just grabbing a color, holding the yarn double, so this is from the inside and from the outside of the cake, but I have also been using 2 greens together, for example. These colors are all pretty bright. I did have some more subdued colors in the bag that I started this jelly roll blanket from. I'm just going to mix them and I'm just going to make a blanket. Crochet takes up a massive amount of yarn, but it goes really quickly, especially because I'm holding the yarn double, of course. So this is not going anywhere. This just stays at home in the basket next to my corner of the couch, and I just knit. I crochet a little on it on, well, nearly a daily basis, I think. So that's the crochet jelly roll blanket. Then I started to test knits. Hence my rotation system got a little overwhelmed. So I saw a test knit coming in a newsletter of a designer that I follow. And I really wanted to do that test knit. It sounded really nice, the thing that we are knitting. So I applied. And then you have to wait, of course, if you will be picked as a test knitter. And then the next day, I saw a test knit, or 2 days later, I think, I saw a test knit request on Instagram. And that is by a designer that I am planning an interview with. So I thought it would be really nice to apply for the test knit, just to help out and just because it would be nice if, just to help out really. So the next morning I received the news that I was chosen for that test knit. Both of them are super secret. The first one is due on February 28th, I think. And I think I'm good. I have been knitting on it since Thursday or Friday. And it is easy enough. So you don't need the pattern the entire time. You can I can pick it up and knit on it. And I only need the pattern at certain points when there is a change to something else. So I think I can totally finish that one in time. And then the next day I received a message that I also got picked for the other test knit. That is a longer test knit. I have 5 weeks, so also around the end of February, to do the first part. And then you have a certain amount of time to finish your object. But I'm confident I can finish both and still knit on things for me. I'm pretty confident. The second test knit is also a super easy, fun knit, which I can pick up and put down, whatever suits my time, really. So I think that will get finished in time too. That is due for much later, and it will be a secret until after the summer. So you will just have to wait. But when the time is right and when I am allowed to show things, I will show you, of course. But that does take some of my knitting time. So in rotation, I think I will keep all this in rotation and just see what happens, because I have 2 crazy weeks ahead of me. So, and then before I go, I want to tell you about 2 new books I have. One of them was gifted to me by my friend Esther for my birthday, and one of them was gifted to me by me. This is the first one, Island Knitting. This is a book by Erika Olberg from Sweden, I think. Yes, I think she is from Sweden. And this book contains 20 patterns, but it is also such a beautiful, beautiful book to flip through. And I love the aesthetic, and I love the color work. I love the colors, and there is this drawing of a group of islands where the next pattern is about. And there, I think, let's see, there are 20 timeless patterns inspired by the sea, wind and spirit of each island. So there are socks, mittens, cowls, sweaters, shawls. There is, a hat. Look at that, a hat, a sweater. I already said sweater, right? Look how beautiful. Look how pretty. So this was a great gift, and it made me think again that I should really start knitting from my books and not just flip through them when I need a pick-me-up, for example. So this is really, really lovely to have. But I gifted myself a book as well. And I think that will be the first book I'm going to knit something from. And that is the Shawl Love book by Melanie Berg. Melanie is a designer from Germany. She goes by the name Merlind. That's her designer name. And I have a signed copy. I met Melanie in Munich last November, and we had a little chat, so I was really, really happy to buy one of her signed copies. And in here are, I forgot how many patterns are in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 patterns. I own some of them already, because when a designer sends out a newsletter with a discount code, I tend to buy something just for support. But that's okay. This is also such a pretty, pretty book. And I have been flipping through. It is in German and English, by the way. Very clever. I have been flipping through, and I have not made a decision on which one I want to make first. There are triangular shaped shawls. There are rectangular shaped shawls. There are, nearly crescent shaped shawls. And there are shawls in one color, in more colors, and they are all so beautiful. But Melanie Burke and Chad Lewis, a knitter from Toronto, Canada, have a collaboration. And the collaboration is about row maps. And this booklet is the row map booklet for Shawl Love, for this particular book. Chad Lewis teaches knitting in the Cancer Center in Toronto. And he is teaching people that are fighting cancer and have to undergo chemotherapy. He teaches them how to knit so they can take their mind off their health problems, and it might help them getting through the day. Knitting is light work, so even if you are tired or in pain maybe, if you feel good enough, knitting is something you can do. But when you have to undergo chemo, or if you have to use any other kind of medicine, it can have a great effect on your energy levels, on your thinking capacity. And well, I don't have to use any medicine, but I have post-whiplash syndrome. So, and that also messes with your brain capacity. I have said it before, my brain is not working very well. And yeah, well, it differs from day to day, but there are days that I can only do a plain and simple knit, and that I cannot work on my design, or that I cannot work with certain colors because they make my head hurt. And it is getting better, and it is nothing life-threatening, but I can understand that keeping track of your knitting can be a challenge in certain circumstances. So, and Melanie experienced this in person. She has been fighting breast cancer and she had chemotherapy in the past. So she knows how challenging it can be to knit at certain stages of your treatment. Chad designed, well, Melanie and Chad together, I guess, they designed row maps. And what this does, for each pattern, there is a schedule that you can just tick off while knitting. So for example, there is a shawl that needs, you have a setup, you have a cast on, you have a setup, and it says exactly how many stitches, and then you begin your shawl and you have to repeat a certain part for 33 times. So there are 33 little repeat schematics or lines which you can just tick off, and after each repeat it tells you how many stitches you should have. And then once you have done all those repeats, you move on to the next and you move on to the next. So your entire shawl is written out line by line, which you can tick off. And if you need to know something about certain stitches, you need your pattern, of course. But once you get going, you can just use your row map again. So this is the reason why I want to start a pattern from this book first, because I want to see how well this row map thing is working out. And So yeah, I am really looking forward to it. I'm not going to start it now because, like I said, 2 crazy weeks ahead of me. So, and I don't need something else in rotation at the moment. So I will just wait until a later point in time when I want to cast on something. I can imagine that my jaunty is not going to take too long, for example. And then I will start a row map design and I will tell you all about it, of course. So that is it for now. Let's just see what happens next week, whether I can or can't record a vlog. But for now, I wish you happy knitting, happy making, and I hope to see you again next time for vlog 101. I will see you then. Bye bye.